All right, so here is a look at my Schoology page in the organization. Each week I put into its own folder and I try to choose a different color so that it looks a little different. Along with the dates on each folder, I put a little bit about what's inside of the folder. I've found that this helps students when they need to go back and do late work or when they're going back and doing revisions. They know if they're revising an activity from lamb to the slaughter, so they can easily find this folder and click on it. This is essentially how my Schoology pages have looked since quarter 1. I've just started doing a little bit more to make it more user friendly. I did not have these little blurbs underneath giving what the folder was about, and I started doing that this quarter, and I've had a lot of students say that it's helpful, so that's something I'm going to continue. The second thing that I do to keep it organized and help students not be scared of Schoology is I try to keep each folder looking exactly the same inside as well. So each folder starts with the calendar and due dates, and then every folder has the Zoom link for my distance learning only kids. Originally, I had my distance learning kids coming with my group A on Tuesdays, and it just got way too messy. So you'll see that this one switched to Mondays after we did a Google form and they voted that Mondays work. So this is what every folder looks like throughout. And then finally, all of their assignments are in this folder for them to click on. And I found the best way for me and for my classes is to label them by day. So they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing on each day of the week, and they can work ahead if they need to. So everything has the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then there's an in-class assignment that I publish without directions so that they have to do it with me in class. So same with week 3 assignments, they're all here, and then if I hold optional Zoom hours, I'll post them for them like this. I'm going to choose to show you week 4. It was our final week of short stories here before we had this presentation and project. So first I'll show you the calendar. This week we were reading 11 by Sandra Cisneros, and we were really focusing on tone because after Thanksgiving break we start reading night, and I focus a lot on style and tone when teaching night. So I wanted to give them their first taste of finding what the tone is of a passage or a short story before we use it together for the rest of the quarter. So on Monday, because this was when progress reports were due, I had them complete a grade reflection form. So I took their grades from Infinite Campus and put them into a spreadsheet by ID number, and I posted it in a Google form forcing them to look at their grade and reflecting on how many late assignments they had, what their grade was, what they needed more help on. So that's how we started the week. The second day, they started with tone, and so I usually start with tone with music. So I had them make a little playlist that asked them, if you were just going through a breakup, what song would you listen to? Or if you were relaxing on the beach, what song would you listen to? And then we turned that into how mood and tone work together so well. Wednesday, I posted a PowerPoint that I would originally deliver in class, but with one day on campus, I don't typically do that. So instead I screencasted and guided them through a graphic organizer that was about the definitions of tone and how we use tone when we're speaking, and then how we would use it in writing. So they did that on their own on Wednesday. On Thursday, we started talking about topic sentences and the 4 elements that they'll be using in their topic sentences. Now that they knew a little bit about tone, I had them go back to their original playlist activity and annotate their songs looking for words that fit their particular tone and having them practice writing topic sentences. So that was our introduction to tone, but the assignment I'm going to show you is their short story project and presentation. That would be the following week. Under week 4 assignments, you'll see everything that I just kind of briefly told you about. And then Friday, I had them look at their upcoming presentation. So if you click on this, we talked in class about how this was our last week of short stories and we needed to do something that wrapped it up and assess their knowledge on short stories. And so for this one, I did a UDL project. So I told them here, Again, this is Friday and they weren't doing their presentations until the following week. I just wanted them to start brainstorming and looking at it instead of procrastinating. So for this one, the goal of this assignment was just to see that they understand the literary elements or devices that we went over in class. So it assesses their knowledge of those devices, but gives them the opportunity to showcase it in multiple ways. So their first step was to choose their own short story. We had read 3 together, and I wanted them to analyze the story on their own to see how well that they're reading as well. So I linked 5 different short stories here that they could choose from. I also offered them to find one on their own if they did not like these. I only had one person do that. Everyone else just chose from the list. So that was their first step, was to choose their own short story and, feel like they have some autonomy in their learning and making choices. And their second step was to choose one of the activities from this choice board below. So I went ahead and made 6 different choices. There's character diaries, there's creating a movie poster, rewriting the climax, interviewing a character, writing an epilogue, or doing like a standard book report. So all 6 options were laid out for them, and each option was written the same. I give a little information about what this option is about. They all have specific requirements to each one, like page numbers or number of questions in an interview or all of that kind of stuff. And then each of them have an example from a story they were not allowed to choose. So they were able to click on this student diary example and see what received a 4 or full credit. So that gave them some examples, and then I gave them presentation suggestions. I was having them complete a project, but I also had them go on to Flipgrid or present in class. It needed to be 2 minutes, so I gave them some presentation suggestions on what I thought would work best and fill up their 2 minutes. So in the instructions, I mentioned that their presentations were the following week on the day they came to campus. The list of short stories were here, and then I also linked the rubric here. So I had these printed and was grading them in class or by their Flipgrid submissions, and they could get 16 points. Right, and finally, the way I delivered this was on Friday after not just on Friday actually, every day when I saw my groups. The last 15 minutes was dedicated to us going over the instructions. I showed them some examples, and I forced them to tell me which story they wanted to choose and which option they thought they would choose from the choice board. So we spent about 15 minutes together in class, and then I also opened up office hours on this Friday in case they had any questions. And then the following week when they came to class, they got 5-10 minutes to prepare for their presentations, and we went ahead and did them. The projects overall turned out really well. I was fearful that I was giving them too much choice, and it wasn't going to be assessed equally from person to person, but I found that those students who put in a great amount of effort, all of their projects were great. The other thing that I ran into was giving them the option to present on Flipgrid was not my best idea because almost every student chose Flipgrid, which made our presentation day very short and very awkward. So I think moving forward, I'm not going to offer that until after the fact as an alternative for those students who were absent or need to still present. But in the future, if I do this again, I'm not going to make that an option up front. Because I think it's better to have them present in class for a number of reasons, but I won't present that to them as soon in my next go around.